Welcome to Reggie Sports Talk in the Morning. I'm your host, RJ Kruger. It is 8 a.m. on a beautiful Wednesday morning, and we have a great show ahead of you today. I'm going to interview a collegiate athlete and talk about how COVID-19 and the pandemic is affecting the NFL season. This NFL season has been off to a rocky start during the pandemic. Trying to have a season this year has caused the NFL to create a game plan we had never seen before. It has cut out the preseason programming, including preseason games and summer training camp. Since football is a heavy contacted sport, players need to be eased back into hits. Most coaches do not allow players to hit during practice in order to avoid any injuries. Players have not been hit in over 8 months now, which has caused more injuries than we have seen in a long time. An NFL article on a website called NFL Injury Reserve List states this year's NFL season has had over 166 players placed on their injured reserve list. The NFL season is just in the 8th week of a 17-game regular season. If a team makes it to the Super Bowl, they can play between 20 and 21 games. To put that into perspective, last year in 2019, according to Hager, the NFL season had 57 people on the injured reserve list during the first 8 weeks of the season. That's over 110 more injuries in just the first 8 weeks of this season. We interrupt this podcast to bring you to our sponsor, Portillo's Hot Dogs. Portillo's, it's Chicago-style hot dogs that you gotta love. Doing for all your catering needs, especially during the Super Bowl this year. Your guests will love the slab of beef with some burgers, salad, and hot dogs. And don't forget to pick up a piece of chocolate cake on your way out. Portillo's Hot Dogs. You gotta love them. Sorry about that interruption. I think the best thing we can do is to talk to a football player about all the injuries that have happened this year. My guest is Chris Binder. He's a senior at Elmhurst University. He is the head resident of Dinkmeyer Hall, is on the crew core team, is part of the President's Advising Council in Diversity, and is the running back for the Elmhurst Blue Jays football team. Thank you for joining us today, Chris.
Yeah, Chris Binder! Yeah!
RJ, how you doing? Glad to be here.
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm doing well, doing real well. Excited about today.
That was a big intro, man. Did I miss anything out there?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah? Seems like you got yourself a busy schedule there.
Yeah, I'm a busy guy.
Yeah.
I do what I gotta do.
You gotta do it. So what do you think about all the injuries in the NFL this year?
Yeah, RJ, it's a shame. It's a shame to see guys going out there, playing their hearts out, trying to, give hope not only to their team but to their communities and to their fans by playing the game that we all love. And seeing some of these guys go down, it's tragic, and I think that there's a lot of different reasons that go into it. And some of the stats that you named in the beginning, they're alarming and eye-opening. And it's so interesting how this pandemic has affected us not only directly but indirectly.
So like you said, the pandemic affecting us. Do you think COVID-19 and having to cancel preseason games and a summer training schedule that these players are so used to has anything to do with these alarming numbers and injuries that we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that I've learned, especially from a football standpoint, is how important the offseason is for any team, any football player or individual. The offseason is a time when you prepare physically, mentally, you get in the playbook, you have camaraderie with your teammates in training camp, and not having pretty much any of that and jumping straight into the season, I think is showing up in the injuries and the way that guys are getting hurt.
I agree. I think it's tough. Do you think we will see a lot more injuries this year because of the training camp, or do you think players are now adjusted to being hit again and the numbers will go down?
Yeah, I think it's tough to say. Players they're getting pretty much their heavy contact once a week, and that's about it. At practice, you really try and limit contact, and you don't want to see guys get hurt. So I think that, it really just depends on the individual, and I think just staying as physically fit as you possibly can is really going to help prevent a lot of those injuries that keep coming up for guys.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think you bring up a point, physically fit. A follow-up question on that. Do you think changing their workout schedules so there's less people in the gym at a time and so they have time to wipe down the equipment, and guys are having less time to work out is part of the reason that we're seeing injuries too. Like, guys aren't having as much time to go weight lift and work on stuff that they would normally work on, which is why more ACLs are getting torn or more Achilles are getting ruptured, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys really rely on that structure that you get from a training program, and the NFL athletes, I'm sure, like, they know their bodies as best as they possibly can. So if there's they have knee issues, they have ankle issues, I'm sure they're doing rehab and prehab, outside of the training room, outside of the weight room. But I think there's just so much value to getting that hands-on training, prehab with athletic trainers that I'm sure some of the guys aren't getting, because they're really encouraging whatever you can do at home or whatever you can do small groups or alone is best right now. So I think it is affecting guys directly, and it's tough. It's tough to see all these good players getting hurt.
Yeah, you talked about good players. What player's injury do you think has the biggest impact on their team right now?
I think over in Dallas, we saw Dak Prescott go down a few weeks ago. I think Dallas has really been struggling this year. Their defense just can't seem to get things figured out. Letting teams that don't have as great a records put up big numbers on them. It's tough to watch. And later in the games, if you watched, Dak's first few games, he would really be the spark that got the team going. And no matter what was happening, Dak would get the boys rallied, and they'd make a push. And if they didn't come back, they got pretty darn close. So not having that spark, I think, is affecting the whole morale of the team. And we saw, Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, hop in there a couple weeks ago after he got hurt. And he did all right. He's a little rusty, but now he's injured too. He's on concussion protocol. And, Dallas just has really been struggling. And I think coming into the season, we were hoping to see them, win their division and be the team that they traditionally are, America's team. But that's just not happening this year.
Yeah, and I think also, like we saw in the game that Andy Dalton came in, Ezekiel Elliott decided that he needed to carry the team, and he had the worst game he's ever had, fumbled the ball twice, and you never see Ezekiel Elliott put the ball on the ground. He's getting asked to have 50 carries a game almost and be basically their whole offense because no one can get the ball out past 5 yards, and sooner or later we might see Ezekiel Elliott go down because of that too.
Yeah, it's very possible. That's the thing about football. It really is a team sport. If one person on the field doesn't do their job, the whole play is messed up, and it takes all 11 guys on the field at that time to execute and to get the job done, which is what makes the sport so beautiful.
Oh, yeah. So finally, what is your Super Bowl prediction for this crazy COVID year?
I'll tell you what, RJ, the Steelers look good, man.
They do look good.
Steelers look real good coming out of the AFC. I'm a Patriots fan myself, and typically I'd say, the only team that can beat them is the Pats. And we've seen that in the past in the AFC championships. But, the Pats, they're just struggling with a lot of transition right now. I'll stand by them through and through, but there's nobody in the AFC that can really come close to the Steelers the way they're playing right now.
You don't think the Chiefs could put up some big numbers on the...
I think it'd be a good game. It'd be a real good game. That Steelers defense, if they can shut down Pat Mahomes back there and some of their the running attack, I think they might give them a run for their money.
Yeah.
And out of the NFC, I really like Seattle. I love Seattle. Russell Wilson, he's just all around a great player, great guy, loves his community, loves his family. But Green Bay, man, I know you're not a big Green Bay guy, but there's something about him. Aaron Rodgers always gets the job done. And I'm not a big Green Bay guy myself, but I'd like to see Seattle come out of the NFC, and we get a little Seattle and Pittsburgh, Super Bowl this year. I think it'd be a real good matchup.
Rematch of Super Bowl 40 when there was some controversy in that game too.
Oh, there was. That is true.
All right, Chris, that's all the time we have for you today. Thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, man. The NFL has had a lot of injuries this year, and COVID-19 has a lot to do with it. That's all the time we have for us today on Reggie Sports Talk. I'm your host, RJ Kruger. Have a great day and stay safe, Blue Jays. Please join us next week as we talk about the NFL again. Thank you.